Welcome to the Stay Paid podcast, where we help agents and entrepreneurs master the latest business trends to unlock growth and create a life of freedom. Brought to you by Reminder Media.
Welcome to Stay Paid. I'm Joshua Stike.
And I'm Luke Acree.
And before we bring on our panel of guests today, we'd love if you take a minute to subscribe to Stay Paid on Apple Podcast or Spotify. While you're there, drop us a review. We'll read it here on the show. Joining us this week from Lynchburg, Virginia, the number one real estate team in Lynchburg, Virginia, Stephen Acree. Welcome, Stephen.
Glad to be back again.
And returning to the pod is Frank Isoldi. Frank is a luxury real estate agent in New Jersey, where he has piled up a plethora of prestigious awards, including being named Real Trends America's Best Real Estate Agents, receiving the New Jersey Association of Realtors Circle of Excellence Sales Awards 20 years running, if I read that right, and is a member of Coldwell Bankers International Society of Excellence, an award given to less than the top 1% of Coldwell Banker agents internationally. That's just scratching the surface. So,
wow.
Frank, welcome back.
Glad to be here. This is exciting.
Frank, man, I'm super excited to have you back. We've been connected. You've been a client of ours for many, many years, but you are just beast in the industry of your production. And really, you can tell how good somebody is by how long they can do something and how well they do it over long periods of time. It's like, what do people say about success? It's showing up, doing what you don't want to do at the highest levels for long periods of time. And you are really an example of that because you've been with us for years. I think you first started our magazine back in 2006.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, which is just wild to me.
Maybe there's a correlation between all those awards.
100%. I mean, if it didn't work, I wouldn't keep doing it.
Exactly. But really want to pick your brain on this podcast. We were talking before you came on. You're always in between like 30 and 50 sales a year. But I call it luxury. Maybe it's not considered luxury in New Jersey, but you're around $1.5 million in average sale price, which is just unreal. Like, it's just phenomenal. The volume you're doing, the consistency you're doing it at. Can you speak a little to where's your business coming from? How are you getting that consistency from a lead flow? How do you think about it that way? And then we'll dive into some luxury marketing tactics.
So just like anything in business, it didn't happen overnight. Certainly didn't grow up in a wealthy family. My father was a fireman. My mom owned her own business. We weren't hanging around country clubs and meeting those type of people. So it took a long time, to get my reputation going and then breaking into that market. And part of breaking into that level is you need to be around those people. So, I did join a country club. I don't play golf, but I needed to be seen there. I needed to, they want to work with people that they feel are similar to them. So, little by little, I got myself kind of in that circle. And then the other thing is, it's trust, it's privacy, money talks, wealth whispers. Like, they don't want people running around talking about their business, why they're selling. Sometimes it's a happy reason, sometimes it's not. So that level of, being very discreet is super important. And we were talking earlier, New Jersey has a major inventory problem, including our upper end. 3 million plus is very light, and we have a ton of buyers trying to get into that price point. So we did a ton of off-market deals this year, and it kind of was like, all right, these guys aren't going to move unless they have a place to go. I have a buyer for their house for sure. I got to find them a place first. So it was like just putting the puzzle pieces together all year. I feel like we were doing that, figuring out, how do we get these guys a house so that I could free up this listing at $3.5 or $4 million? Because I know that the buyers are out there. And then, like I said, it just becomes trust. People, it's a small town. We only have 30,000 residents here. I was born and raised here. My father was born and raised here. We try to conduct an extremely ethical business. And like I said, I'm just very discreet. I
didn't realize the town was that small that you're in. That's even more impressive. How big is your database of clients that you would consider like these are core relationships? How big is that?
So if we just focus on like the luxury, I have 200 to 300 that I hit on a regular basis. So I have to say, and I got to give shout out to Coldwell Banker. I mean, I feel like I have an advantage because Coldwell Banker's luxury program is bar none, in my opinion, the best out there. Michael Outnew, who runs our global luxury division, puts out a report that we all customize, and I send to these 200 people. It's by far, I feel, the best in the business. And then the commitment now has gone even further. We just hired Brandon Newman, who is the VP of marketing, who came from Aston Martin. Before that, he was with Mercedes-Benz. So, there is a huge push for maintaining our presence in the luxury market at Coldwell Banker. So I feel a little bit blessed to have that support. But beyond that, and I've heard you guys talk about this all the time. It's consistency. It's getting up. It's doing the job. Some days you don't want to do it, but you gotta keep the grind going. And for us right now, with so few transactions, it's even harder. There's less out there.
I'm curious, how do you approach because we do the off-market deals as well, and that tends to generate a lot of activity with our clients. How do you approach like off-the-market deals?
So, this is ironic. So I was at a restaurant, one of my neighbors leaving, they're sitting at the bar, I'm leaving. And they just said to me, Frank, we don't want to put our house on the market for various reasons. If you have somebody in this XYZ range, let me know. The next day I showed it like 3 times and sold it like in 2 days because it's my neighbor's house. I know the neighborhood. Right. So it's kind of a lot of, it's being out there. Like, you gotta be seen, you gotta be around people. I'm constantly eating dinner downtown. My mom died from breast cancer, so I'm on the vice president of a breast cancer foundation. You meet a ton of people. That's another way, you could donate time to a charity that you feel passionate about, and meet a lot of really wealthy people. But it also can't be fake. Like, you can't be joining these organizations just to meet people, because they'll see right through that. But if you have a passion, autism, whatever it is, get involved in a charity and you'll be shocked how many connections you'll make. And then referrals, refer people out to attorneys, accountants, financial advisors, sports attorneys, There's so many different ways you can make engagement with people that will refer business back to you, as long as they trust you. And, I think that's the key.
That is a massive golden nugget I don't want people to miss. Is I have found that the people who get the most referrals are the ones who are referring the most. And it's
100%.
KPI metric I don't think we track most of the time in our business, of going, how many people did I refer to somebody this year? Like, if you looked at your business, Stephen Acree Brothers, and go, okay, how many people did we send to the local attorney that we trust, or to our, home security company, or whatever it is? And not a play like an affiliates play, even though you could do that too. But more of just like, no, I'm just trying to give them business. And that will, the rule of reciprocity, which we all understand, will trigger in such a massive way, more than anything else you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. How much?
And then,
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say how often. So it's so interesting to see all of the avenues of value proposition. It's hard to navigate how it's actually transacting. You know what I mean? So you look at how many off the market deals are you doing, and then how many times are you touching these people with those value propositions of giving out the referral to the accountant, the tax professional, and so on and so forth. Because 30 deals is massive. Also, 1.5 million average is crazy.
So that's also, most of my touch points with these people aren't even talking about real estate or asking them if they're moving. It's more like, get the local paper. You see that their kid is athlete of the week. Just shoot them a quick text. Oh my God, I can't believe Brandon is now a senior in high school. What a great accomplishment. Little things like that. This past weekend, every Saturday after Thanksgiving, we have a tree lighting. We have a huge tree in our backyard. We have it professionally lit. We had 300 and something people here. Clients, friends, family. We hire a Santa Claus. We have a professional photographer. They have now their pictures for their Christmas cards. That event is just growing and growing and growing. But this is the other thing. It's not even just referring, it's connecting. Yeah. So I invited specific people that I wanted to connect at this party, clients of mine that I know will refer other business to me, you get them all together in a fun atmosphere like that. No real estate whatsoever. That's how I think you just keep it going.
And this is an event you put on, or is this something just in your community?
Oh no, this is our backyard.
Okay, wow.
This is
300 people. That was impressive. Yeah.
it's getting out of control, but I mean it's so much fun.
Do you ever get any of your like title or lenders or anything like that to chip in? I know some people do that strategy. I don't know if you do it.
This really started out as a family thing. Like this was for our family and friends. And then, it just kept growing and growing. And, we invite all the neighbors because there's literally hundreds of cars parked up and down these streets, which is another great touch point for the neighborhood. If you're not the agent in your street or neighborhood, that you got a problem. I don't know. It's just taken over, but it has nothing to do with business.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
Yeah, because it's so authentic. It's literally a family event where you're treating your clients like family. It's kind of like you guys' holiday party, Steve.
Yep.
That you guys have done many years. I know this year you're renting out an ice skating rink and stuff like that, but it's similar to that. I'm curious, diving in a little deeper on like the marketing side for luxury, because I've always wondered this myself. Do you find like you have to obsess more over quality and like design? Like, how do you think about brand representation? Are you even focused on that from what you're putting out there? How do you think about it from that regard?
Yeah. So we want to be really consistent, with all of our advertising. So we have, the Isoldi collection, blue logo for general, black logo for global luxury. And then that kind of continues throughout anything we do. Coldwell Banker has this amazing program. So your just listed, just sold cards are actually trifold, and they go in a silver envelope that's handwritten. It looks like it's handwritten. So it's not just a postcard. I get so many calls on those cards because they really are, bar none. I have never seen another company send anything out like it.
Yeah, I've actually seen that. So you're saying it is a trifold mailer that is showcasing the listing you just sold or put on the market, and there's a handwritten piece, like a note that you put in there?
Oh, no. The envelope. Look,
okay. So it's literally is it stamped too? Is it a stamp or?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Yeah. I wonder how they're pulling that off in mass, the stamp. I wonder if they have people, a little robot putting the stamps on, or if they have people doing that. The reason why I'm curious is we've looked in, like, we're very, in our product roadmap, we know we have to get to handwritten notes. And in essence, that, right, the handwritten envelopes and stuff like that, because it is so powerful. It's the one piece of mail you will always open.
100%.
Is a envelope with a stamp and a handwritten address and stuff like that. So I love hearing that. So you're getting a ton of calls off of that mailer that's going off.
Yeah, so keep in mind, those go to that same 200 to 300 group constantly. Yep. So every time I list or sell a house, they get one of those silver envelopes. It's become like a joke now. Some of them are like, oh, we got another, Frank sold another house because they see another silver envelope, because it's an expensive program and not everybody will do it. But that comes back to, you got to, if you want to work in that level of the market, you got to spend money. Like, you got to spend money to make money. I still do a ton of print ad. I obviously strongly believe in your product. And I think I told you last time how I pivoted with that product. I actually bring it to a very high-end car wash, and it sits there when the people check out and they grab it. Yep. And they go in like 3 days. They're gone. They keep calling me like, we need more. So it works.
Incredible. Yeah, I love that. So I'm like, how much does that card envelope cost you to send out? Like, what's one? Is it like $3 an envelope, $4 an envelope? What is it that you?
So this is going to sound really embarrassing. My assistant handles all that.
No, that's
I have no idea. I couldn't even tell you. She has my credit card. She just takes care of it all.
Okay, what's her name? We got to call her up next.
Have her on the show. Yeah. She could probably give you a lot more info.
But you're hitting, to make sure I understand the strategy, because this is what I was talking, I think, to you about, and Cody, Stephen, the other day, is going, a lot of people use their just listed, just solds to hit their database, their core relationships, because it's a trust builder, where a lot of times you think of just listed, just solds as hitting that neighborhood that's close, which you can do as well. but I'm hearing more and more people using it as a database touch, just because it showcases you're active, which builds credibility.
Well, people want to work with somebody that's successful, right?
Right.
So we have it broken down to two things. So if it's a $500,000 house, we'll just circle the neighborhood, just because we want to get our name out. But anything I'd say $1 million plus goes to the neighborhood and then my list. Now, most of them are in the neighborhood anyway because our town's not that big. But we make sure that those 200 to 300 people are hearing from us, hopefully every week, every other week at some point, with some kind of touch.
Yeah, I love that. What will your volume be in overall sales?
This year's probably going to be down a little bit for me. My goal is always to be 100 plus. Don't think I'll hit that this year just because the level of volume was down. The good thing for me, my average sale price went up. Okay. So it's kind of going to offset it, but I don't think I'll hit my goal.
So you're saying your goal is always 100 million in volume?
Plus, yeah.
Yeah, get out of here. That's unbelievable. And I don't want people to miss. Listen to what he said. Rewind it. He's trying to be in front of his people like every 2 weeks, every week, every 2 weeks. He's trying to be in front of his people. So many people, I talk to people all the time, and they don't realize how often you've got to be in front of people. Like you're going downtown to eat, to get out in front of them. You're shooting them a message by the local paper, seeing their kid was athlete of the week or whatever. You're sending this mailer out that's going and hitting all your database. You have our magazine going. It's like when you start adding this Christmas event you're doing and the invites, you start adding up all these touches. You go, oh my gosh, you're in front of these people every week. It's a true relationship. And I think the big myth, and I've been trying to scream this over the last 2 years to people. Maybe that's why it's not resonating. I'm screaming. I need to whisper. Yeah, I need a whisper. There you go. But the thing is, it's like you think of your closest relationships, your wife, your husband, your significant other, the people that are closest to you. How often are you in touch with them? The most. And as you go down in touches with people, you go down in probably relationship. It's like your acquaintances get barely any interaction from you, and that's why it's a weaker relationship. But yet we don't translate that to our marketing. We think about it more as just like a one blast a month thing, and that's why people don't realize their marketing is failing because they don't see it as this holistic, like how often can I be in front of these people as many times as possible with value, and then non-real estate driven stuff.
Well, I think the other thing to that point, though, also is they don't give it enough time. They send out your magazine for a year and say, oh, I didn't get any listings from the magazine. I'm done. I'm not spending that kind of money. To your point, we've been together now for 19 years, 18 years. It takes time for that stuff to build, and if you're not listing and selling 20, 30, 40 plus homes a year, you're not sending out as many just listed, just sold cards. You've got to figure out another way to touch these people. Yep. I'm lucky because I constantly have listings selling and coming on the market. So that's an easy touch point. I don't have to think about that. If you don't have that, then you come up with something else, you figure it out. But you can't, say I'm going to throw $500 at a marketing, idea and expect, 2 listings and 3 sales from it, year one. You got to be in for the long haul.
Yeah, you can. It's funny. We say that to people all the time, but I don't know if it's a belief problem for agents, like where the mental, because all the top producers, it's like, don't take my word for it. Listen to Frank. Like this guy's top producer for 20 plus years. Listen to Steven. Listen, like these are top. They're telling you, if you don't use Reminder Media, that's fine. But whatever you choose to do, at least stick to it, because the plan that works is the plan you work. And so few people, I mean, the failure rate is still just as high, which is a travesty really in the industry. It's still just as high of people failing out of the industry because they don't apply these things of consistency, and you got to spend money to make money, and you got to work the plan that you've planned. I'm curious if you put on your futuristic hat, like in looking at all the industry. I don't know if you saw the news. Compass just acquired App Properties and Christie's International, I think it was. So there's a lot of roll up happening in the industry, or continuing to happening. And then you look at the marketing side. You have Zillow buying Follow Up Boss, and you have KV Core buying Boom. I mean, you just have all this huge roll up happening. The commissions changing and buyers consultation, like. does the future make you nervous of real estate? How are you viewing it? How do you keep your head on straight to just keep trucking through? What are you thinking about the future?
Yeah, it's twofold actually. Part of it is, just keep doing what you're doing, right? What works works. And then you do have to pivot, when market changes, listen, I've been doing this for 30 something years now. I've been through a lot of ups and downs. I went through 9/11 where I didn't think anybody was going to want to live near New York City. We're commutable to New York. And New York bounced back, hotter than ever. So, you got to ride the wave sometimes, and sometimes it's a lean year and sometimes it's a boom year. But I think on the luxury side, I will stand behind Call Bankers program all day long. I totally get the move for Compass by, taking Christie's. It's actually in my opinion, a very smart move for them. We're in a little bit of a bubble because we have the lion's share of the market here.
Okay.
So, Christie's Christie's and Compass both are entities here. So very little impact to me, but yeah, I think it's gonna send some waves across the country.
Yeah,
in markets.
You can't ever beat, like AI can't ever beat 200 people in the database that you've been working on for 20 years, right? Where every single one of them, their houses inside and out, where you can make a connection on an off the market deal. As I just look at that and I'm like, it's actually, the thing is, it's going to hurt the bottom 80%. It's going to help the top 20%. So folks were like, man, if you're all you have to do is get to the top 20%, because why? You have the inventory, which means you have more touches to your database, which means you're the educational piece, right, towards them, where you're the trusted advisor in the real estate industry. And I can't ever see AI technology beating that out, right? It's going to hurt the bottom 80%. Why? Because they don't have any inventory, right? And so there's not a big enough value proposition. But the value proposition that you gave on just off the market deals and having 200 people, 300 people in your database where them is too good.
So I was actually at a conference and there was a great comment about AI, and the woman said, AI is never going to put the realtor out of business. The realtors that embrace AI are going to put the realtors that don't use AI out of business. Yeah. And it's so true. Like, you got to get on the wagon. I mean, it's here, but it's not going to replace us, but it's going to be a tool for us that it's going to make our life so much easier and better in the long run. And then getting back to that 200 to 300 database, for our young agent or a new agent trying to break into a market, pick a number that you can afford. Maybe it's 50. Maybe you start at 50 and work your way up to 100, then 200. Because back to that point, if you can't touch them, at least once a month, more hopefully. If you can't afford to send that mailing out, then you've wasted
yes,
good money.
Agree. Yep. Too little touch points is the death of agents, is they spend their money on too many people. They go too wide and they don't realize this is a deep business, meaning you have to have relationships with people. But it's so hard to think that 100 people or 200 people can make you a living, because you just get fear mentality that I'm not touching enough people. I got to go to the grocery store and scream at the anonymous public. And that's essentially what we do with a lead gen, is we spend all this money trying to scream at the anonymous public, when it's like, no. It's about going deep with people.
Yep.
But that requires such discipline and confidence that I believe that these 200 people will know, like, and trust me, and they will know 6 degrees of separation that they will convince to know, like, and trust me. And if you do start doing that math, you have thousands of people you're actually in front of. Well, and the key word, I don't know what you guys feel about this. I look at the future and go, technology will shift like it always does. But the thing that won't change is trust. That people want to go, like, the biggest fear for me as a consumer when buying property is the same fear I have when buying a car or anything else, is that I bought the wrong thing, that I got a lemon, that I made a mistake, that I didn't realize I didn't realize I should have checked the foundation, or I didn't realize that the HVAC system was going to cost me $15K, $20K. Like, that is when you go to buy something, you're fearful that you bought the wrong thing, that there's something better out there. And that comes down to trust. So how are you becoming the agent of trust? And most people don't realize that trust is not purely built from info. And so you can info people all day long, but tying it back, Frank, to the touch points that you're doing, they're not really that info based. Like you have that great global luxury report or whatever it is that you're doing from Coldwell Banker, but a lot of it is just relationship based, that it's almost like you could frame it as value based. That Frank, I trust because he has similar ethics. He has similar ways of thinking, like like who he is as a person, how he treats people, how he treats me, how he follows up with me. That almost builds more trust for me than your knowledge on the market, even though you need both.
100%.
Yeah. And the newer agent, it's funny, all the questions that I get when we're in like script practice and, we're doing our sales meeting is always, how do I get this person to move when they're telling me they don't want to move? That's basically what I hear. It's like, it keeps coming up and I'm like, you don't get people to move when their motivation is not to move. You need more people in your database. And so like, as I look at Frank, I'm like, that's it. He's got 300 people in his database. He doesn't need to be commission breath. Therefore, when he's not commission breath, he's actually providing value. When you provide the value, you get repeat and referral business, and then it compounds from there. We have a saying here. It's like, don't be year focused, be career focused. And that's exactly what Frank is doing. It's like, you have to build up the database to where you can actually provide the value. Stop trying to get people to move when their motivation isn't there. Put them in your database for when, the future, when they're ready to move, when their motivation is high, you can actually help them out.
It makes total sense.
Yeah. Frank, okay, I gotta ask you this question because I think we asked you it last time, and I want to see your answer. The knowing what you know now, 30 years in, what would you go back and tell Frank, the younger Frank? Advice or things that you would be aware of differently. What advice would you give him?
And I wish I remembered my answer, but I think that the two things that I should have done earlier was hire an amazing assistant. I mean, I have Holly as my assistant. Without her, I'd be nothing. And I've been so fortunate over the 30 years. I've had incredible assistants all along the road. And I know people are always afraid of the expenditure and like me, of giving away control of a lot of the transaction. She does no negotiating or anything like that for me, but I trust her implicitly and I adore her. And then the other thing is I probably would have tried to break into the upper end market sooner. Maybe that wouldn't have been as successful. I don't know. Because somebody told me when I first got in the business, and back then prices were very different, but it was just as easy to sell $1 million house as it was a $300,000 house. So, there's something true to that. If you hit these lulls in the market, if your average price is going up, at least you're consistent or maybe even making more money selling less houses. So I think that those are the two things looking back that, maybe would have made a difference. But the assistant thing, hands down, most important thing I did, and I should have done it sooner.
Awesome.
So good.
Frank, thank you so much for coming back on the podcast.
Thank you.
Close out, let people know how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, I mean, Instagram is probably the best. It's just my name, Frank, middle initial D, Isoldi. I would love to connect with everybody.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Stephen, thank you for joining us. How can people connect with you?
Absolutely. Shoot me a call or a text. I'd love to jump on the phone with you, 434-216-5306.
Awesome. Appreciate it, guys. And thank you all so much for listening. You can get the show notes for this episode over at staypaidpodcast.com, along with the video and how you can subscribe there. If you enjoyed this episode and want to show your support, share this episode with someone that you know. It's the best way to help this podcast grow. And if you want to get hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com. And of course, you can follow us on Instagram as well. We are at Stay Paid Podcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
Guys, I'm Luke Acree. Frank, thank you so much, man, for coming on. Really, really appreciate you. Appreciate you being a client and just the wealth of knowledge that you shared. My action item for everybody on this is do what Frank did. You got to build your database. Most of you, this is non-judgmental, but it is judging you. You probably don't even have your database segmented and know who your core clients are. We're nearing the end of the year. This might come out, at the beginning of the year, but we're nearing the end of the year here. What a perfect time here at the start of the year to make sure you know who your top 25, top 50 or top 100 are, and actually develop a plan in 2025 to build relationships with them, to send them a call, send them a text message, send them a mailer, get in front of them because relationships are the name of the game. but you can't have relationships if you don't get in front of people and have conversations with them. Remember, the difference between top producers and mediocre producers in every business is top producers take action. Take action on that today.